I think I have to talk about the shrimp.
Today, I'm in the showroom with my homie, Izzy Brourman. Hello.
Hello.
Well, the funny story of how we met is, like, over a year ago, I got a DM, and it was a girl saying, hey, can you dress me for court? And I was like,
please.
Yeah. Can you dress me for court, please? And then I'm like, who the fuck is this? Like, I thought it was like a criminal who needed help and like needed someone to lend them a suit or something. And like, I showed my boyfriend and he's like, what the fuck? Like, oh, she's an artist. And I was like, okay. And he was like, I think you should give her a shot because she's like an artist and help her out. And I said, okay. And then Izzy came over and we like fucking hit it off. She was embarking on this insane journey doing court sketching. And I've watched her like go from there all the way to where she is now. And I thought she'd be a great person to interview and tell us like what she's been going through in the last year. So without further ado, dun 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 dun! Izzy Brourman. I just said fuck it and put Izzy in a power clash move.
Power clash, yeah.
We got like this crazy like checkerboard sequin top with this insane micro skirt, and then I have a zebra scarf that's just so ridiculous.
I also did the bow. I'm bored in the house and I'm in the house, boy.
And then we got the shanays, you know. Gotta
These
put
are
a
like,
little class on this.
Yeah, gotta put some class on it, and if you haven't gotten to wear Janelle Shanays, then you have to work harder. And yeah, so I started my court journey in 2022 with the Johnny Depp Amber Heard trial. It's a really old tradition, but right now it's kind of seen as anachronistic. And like when I got to the Johnny Depp Amber Heard trial, I was just watching it from my own POV, which was that I had been on this quest to expose and seek justice for myself and my other sister survivors because there was a professor at the University of Michigan who had sexually abused myself and others. I was in the midst of my own investigation and like on my own journey, coming forward with a story that I had kept to myself and others had kept to themselves. I mean, personally, I'll just speak for myself. I felt really stupid because of the abuse that I endured because it lasted so long and it was like so multi-layered. I was looking around and I saw all these like incredible, smart, ambitious young women and I felt less stupid. I was like, okay, like I'm not like the only one that fell for this, and like it's not a reflection of my own intellectual capabilities. It's a result of somebody being propped up in a very powerful system and institution. So we came forward with the New York Times, and when the Depp Heard trial came on, I was watching it on YouTube and I felt pretty guilty about that. I read this article that was like, meet the women who are waiting in line to see the Depp v. Heard trial. And my gut had been shut down for so long, and I had this spark. So I got in my car and I drove to Fairfax, Virginia that night and got in the line at 3:30 in the morning with my drawing stuff because I had been drawing as a way to sort of like lessen the guilt, like the feeling that there was nothing productive coming of me watching this play out. It was lessened when I was making art. You're supposed to hear both sides before you come to a conclusion. And like the way that the fandom had swarmed Depp, it made it so that everybody had already made up their minds. And as a result of that, there was a lot of like, horrible bullying and like narratives that were being dredged up that, we hadn't really seen in a while. At the end of the trial, the verdict came in, super quiet on one side and super intense on the other side. And then you go outside and there's this parade of people like dressed like mermaids and pirates waiting to see him. And it was just, to give yourself the opportunity to observe that in a real way, like in a physical way, and to like feel that in your body.
Okay, so I like this checkerboard, and since we're going to go into the Trump trial topic, I have this Italian circus suit, and there are American flags, and like clowns, and it's the circus, and I just feel like it's so appropriate for the Trump trial. And you said you wore it to the DNC?
I wore it to the DNC. I was like trying to wear it everywhere during the campaign, but it was so hot. We ended up wearing the Givenchy,
The toilet flush boots.
the toilet flush boots, the verdict boots.
The verdict boots.
I showed up because you never know when the verdict is coming, like that morning. And I showed up to court and I was like, these are my verdict boots. And the verdict came that day.
Slay.
And the verdict was like the craziest energy anyone in my multiple personality body had ever felt in their life. It was, first of all, the end of the day. And the judge was like, well, there's no verdict today, but I'm going to go talk to the jurors before I dismiss everyone for the day. It was like 4:00. And then he came back and he's like, oh, we have one more note from the jury. And a lot of times the jury sends a note and they're requesting like additional information. He said, the jury have reached a verdict. And like, there was a collective audible gasp. Like, it was like a chorus. It was like, the Wi-Fi went down, so all the reporters were like bugging the fuck out. I was just like getting my materials together, but next to me it was like the New York Times team being like, we can't get Wi-Fi, we can't get Wi-Fi. And I sort of was like, I told you it was the verdict, and no one's like can answer because everybody's just trying to be able to deliver this news from inside the courtroom.
Dreams can come true. Dun, 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 dun. Are you gonna pop its cherry today?
Yeah, 100%.
Okay.
If it's okay with that.
Do we have your consent? Isn't that beautiful?
Wow.
It's so unique and special. All right, we put you in something cray-cray. You just popped this Russ's cherry with her consent.
Very bliss.
It's very bliss. And then we put the Shananes on, and then my really cheap, these cost me like $20.
Authentic plastic.
I don't wear money. I remember you called me one day and you're like, dude, I'm going to Mar-a-Lago. That was like a crazy hurricane. You couldn't take the plane, and you and Olivia Nuzzi drove.
Nuzzi.
Sorry, Nuzzi.
Okay.
Y'all drove through like hell and high water to get to Mar-a-Lago. Tell me how that was.
Crazy. There was a hurricane coming, and we knew that if we like relied on a flight, it might get canceled. So she was like, I'm driving. We were talking, it was after he had gotten shot. And I said, I've been studying his face for so long, and like he came out on the stage for his first appearance since the shooting, and his eyes looked different. So we pitched to his communications person in the middle of the campaign a portrait session / interview. And Olivia and I drove down to Miami. He had responded when he heard about the art component. He responded and said, like, I don't want it to be, POTUS doesn't want it to be screwy. He doesn't want it to be screwy. And he had seen my court art. And I was like, no, this is my Mona Lisa. And this was, okay, now we're moving into like a more royal court. And like, just naturally, I was like, I need to get a canvas. I need to get like a whole set that sort of points to that tradition of artists and patrons. I got all that stuff and we went to Mar-a-Lago, and it was pretty spot on because like this was his royal court. And like he walked around there in such a different demeanor than he did in the court.
Oh my gosh, where did this come from?
I've never even
She's
tried
never
that
even
on.
seen this before.
I don't know how that'll look on me, but I guess I could give it a whirl.
What's your funniest story from being
From
inside?
Mar-a-Lago?
Yeah.
The funniest
Are you going to
story.
talk about the shrimp?
I think I have to talk about the shrimp. There were hors d'oeuvres out for us. My desert island food is coconut shrimp.
Wait, speaking of food, the delivery is almost here. Let's talk about that shrimp when we're eating.
I have Lady Liberty. We ate, so now I'm calm. This is like a very heavy, intense thing to walk into Mar-a-Lago, and like now I tell a story to like, yaha! But like it was really intense, and I saw the coconut shrimp, and I was like, yes, still. And then at the end, I tried it, and it was so good. The next time I went for the follow-up because I was like, I need to get more of the ear, and he was like, did you get hors d'oeuvres? And I was like, can I have the coconut shrimp? And he was like, yes, shrimp. And I was like, can it be the coconut shrimp? So we got the coconut shrimp. I got like a plate of coconut shrimp. He like looked up from the middle of the meeting, and he was like, did you get any shrimp? I was like, yeah, thank you so much. Like, there's a plate of shrimp. He's like, come here. Come have some shrimp. So I like walked over and like leaned down and like I was like going to take a shrimp. He's like, get a plate. So I grabbed a plate and I grabbed shrimp, and I like, there was like a sauce on the table, and I like just like dipped one shrimp in the sauce. And I was like, so good, thank you. That is the best damn coconut fucking shrimp
you've ever had in your life.
I've ever had in my life. But I found it to be like super empowering to paint someone in that position of power, because you're authoring that person. And so the period that I'm moving into now is a series that I'm calling Seated Power. Artists don't necessarily confront and like command in political spaces. There's a lot of power that you can have back if you are the one that's in, you know, like control of somebody's image.
What do we think about this jacket?
What is there anything to think about? Like what's the thing, you know?
So, question, what is next for you?
I'm building a painting series, and it started with Trump, and it's going across the spectrum of American culture, and sort of analyzing power with tender instinct.
Mm-hmm.
And there are some people that I really, really want to paint. And there have been a lot of like surprises along the way where it's like, this is the most perfect thing that I could have ever done, and like I could have never even thought of this for myself. Like,
right.
Like drawing Madonna.
Mm-hmm.
There's something like super insanely rewarding about being in the presence of Madonna. Just getting to like have the opportunity to like come into her space and get to like observe her and like sort of like be in concert with how she was moving and like how she was, and like be inspired by that has opened a door in my imagination of meeting all these different pillars of power. Like, it really gives you sort of this roadmap and a wisdom.
You guys want to feed the pigeons?
Oh shit. You got it. Peggy!
Come on.
Peggy.
You can just like shimmy the bag out there.
Let it rain!
Let it rain. All right, I'm sure they're gonna come. Fuck, man. Well, you can blend in some footage of the birds, right?